The alien clinic was quiet that night, the halls filled with the soft hum of machines and the cold glow of blue lights on the walls. Nurses whispered as they moved between rooms, their strange, long fingers carrying trays of tools and glowing medicine tubes. But then the silence broke. The heavy doors burst open, and two guards dragged in a wounded human soldier. His uniform was torn, blood covered his chest, and his breathing was rough like broken glass. All the aliens in the hall froze at the sight of him. Humans were rare here, and many had never seen one alive before. Nurse Alira stood near the counter, her silver eyes widened. She had been trained in healing her own kind, and sometimes treating other species of the Alliance. But a human? She had only read about them in medical data files. They were called dangerous, unpredictable, and too strange for alien doctors to fully understand. Put him here, the guard barked. Throwing the soldier onto the metal bed, the sound of his body hitting the cold surface made everyone flinch. The human groaned, blood dripping onto the floor. His eyes half open, but filled with pain. Alira hesitated. Her colleagues stepped back. Some whispered, "Don't touch him. It's too risky." Humans react differently. Their biology is unstable. What if he wakes and attacks? But the human did not look like a monster. He looked broken, fragile, and yet somehow stubborn enough to keep breathing when his body wanted to stop. Alira took a deep breath. Her hands shook, but she moved closer. She pressed a scanner over his chest. The screen flashed red, showing several internal injuries. He has shrapnel near the lung, severe bleeding. His temperature is rising. She said quickly. Her voice was firm, but her heart raced. The chief doctor frowned. "Humans are strange. We can't risk contamination. Move him out. Let him die in the holding bay." Alira's chest tightened. She looked at the human's face. His lips moved weakly. Whispering words, she bent close and heard him murmur, "Please. Help." His voice was rough, but it carried something she could not ignore. The chief doctor turned away, uninterested. The others followed his lead. Only Alira stayed. She placed her hand gently on the human's shoulder. "I will help you," she whispered. The human's eyes flickered open for a moment, and he tried to smile. She began cleaning his wounds, pulling out the metal fragments. Her hands worked fast. Though sweat rolled down her forehead, every cut revealed how different his body was. His blood was darker, thicker than her people's, and his muscles twitched in ways that frightened her. Then she noticed something strange. His lower body seemed tense, swelling in a way she had never seen before. Her scanner beeped in alarm. Flashing unknown inflammation detected. Alira froze. Her training offered no explanation. Her colleagues gasped. Watching from a distance, "What is happening to him?" one asked nervously. Alira leaned closer, confused. "His body is reacting. But this isn't in the medical files. This isn't normal for us. But maybe it is for him," she whispered. She didn't know whether to treat it as a deadly symptom or ignore it. Her heart pounded. If she made the wrong choice, the human could die right there. The human groaned again, his eyes opening halfway. He looked at her face and whispered, "Don't panic. It's normal." For me, his voice was weak, but calm. Alira stared at him in shock. Normal? This looked like a dangerous condition to her, but his steady gaze told her he meant it. She wanted to believe him, yet fear clung to her mind. Her colleagues muttered again, "See? Too strange, let him go. He will bring nothing but danger." But Alira shook her head. "No, he is still alive, and as long as he is alive, I must try," she said firmly. Her voice broke through the whispers, and though they glared, none dared to stop her. She adjusted the machines, injected stabilizing fluids, and pressed bandages onto his wounds. The inflammation warning still blinked on her scanner, distracting her every second, but she chose to trust his words, at least for now. Hours passed. The clinic grew quieter. The other nurses went back to their duties, but kept glancing nervously at the room. Inside, Alira sat beside the human. She watched his breathing slowly ease, though sweat covered his forehead. At one point, he opened his eyes again, barely strong enough to speak. "You saved me," he whispered. Alira looked into his strange human eyes. They were unlike her kinds, so full of pain and fire at the same time. "I only did what any nurse should do," she said softly, but inside, she knew it was not true. None of the others would have touched him. Only she had chosen to stay. And for reasons she could not explain, she felt drawn to this fragile, wounded creature. He was unlike anyone she had ever seen. And yet, somehow, he made her want to protect him. She glanced at the blinking red sign on the scanner again. Her chest tightened. The mystery of this inflammation haunted her. She didn't understand it. Not yet, but one thing was certain. This human was going to change everything. The night stretched on inside the alien clinic. The machines beeped softly, marking the slow rhythm of the human's heartbeat. Nurse Alira sat by his side, her silver eyes fixed on the scanner that still flashed red. Unknown inflammation. Detected, the warning repeated again and again. She had silenced the sound. But the words kept glowing, mocking her helplessness. She leaned forward, studying the man's strange body. His chest rose and fell with stubborn effort. His skin pale, yet warm. His lower body was still tense, the swelling not fading. Instead, it seemed to pulse like a hidden storm. Alira had treated hundreds of injuries in her life, but nothing like this. Her hands trembled. She wanted to call for help again, but she remembered how her colleagues had looked at him, like he was a cursed thing. They would only throw him outside. She knew that if she didn't act, no one else would. Suddenly, the human stirred. His eyes opened slightly. A faint groan escaped his lips. He whispered words in his rough voice. "Don't be afraid. It's normal, not sickness." Alira froze. Her heart thumped loudly. Normal. Her mind refused to believe it. Her scanner insisted this was a dangerous condition. But the human's voice carried a strange calmness, as if he had lived through this before. She leaned closer. "If this is normal, then why does it look like your body is collapsing?" she whispered. The man gave a faint smile, though his face was twisted with pain. "Human bodies are strange. We burn hot. We fight harder. Sometimes our own strength looks like sickness to others." His words faded into silence as he lost consciousness again. Alira sat back, stunned. She thought about his explanation. Her people's bodies were delicate compared to his. For them, such swelling and heat always meant death. But for him, it was just another survival mechanism. Could humans really be so different that even their suffering looked unnatural? The door to the room slid open with a hiss. Two alien doctors stepped inside. Their long robes brushed the floor, their eyes cold as glass, still alive. One of them asked sharply. Alira nodded. "Yes, he is stabilizing. But his body is reacting strangely." The doctors exchanged a glance. One of them sneered. "That is not strange. That is dangerous. Humans are unstable creatures. The longer he lives here, the more risk for all of us. End his treatment now." Alira felt fire rise inside her. "He asked for help. He is not a threat," she argued. Her voice shook, but she did not look away. The second doctor raised his hand to silence her. "Your duty is to your people, not to a human. Remember that." They left the room without touching him, leaving only their words like poison in the air. Alira clenched her fists. She knew she had broken rules already. If they found out she had ignored protocol, her career could end. But she could not walk away. Something inside her refused to let this man die. She turned back to the human. His body twitched slightly, his breathing rough, the swelling still. pulsed, her scanner updated again, showing energy levels rising across his muscles. "This isn't just healing," she whispered. "This is something else." Slowly, she reached for a cooling serum. She hesitated. If she used it, she could ease the swelling. But what if it made things worse? Her people's medicine did not always mix well with foreign biology. Alira's heart pounded. She remembered his faint words, "Don't panic. It's normal." He had trusted her, but could she trust him in return? Her hand shook as she held the vial. The decision pressed on her like a weight. Before she could act, the human gasped suddenly. His hand shot out and grabbed her wrist. His grip was strong even in weakness. His eyes opened wide, burning with intensity. "No, not that. Don't use it," he whispered hoarsely. Alira froze. Her breath caught in her throat. He had stopped her at the last second. How did he know what she was about to do? His instincts seemed sharper than any machine. She swallowed hard. Then, "Tell me what I should do. Help me save you," she pleaded. The human closed his eyes, his grip loosening. "Trust me. Just let the body fight. Don't interfere," he murmured. Then he fell back into unconsciousness, leaving her stunned. She stared at him, her mind in chaos. Every lesson she had learned told her not to trust this. Every rule demanded she stop, yet something in her heart pushed her to believe him. Slowly, she put the serum back on the tray. Her decision was made. She would wait and watch. Hours dragged on. The swelling did not kill him. Instead, his body seemed to burn through it. His heartbeat grew stronger, the scanner showing signs of recovery. Alira watched in awe as the impossible unfolded before her eyes. This human's body was healing itself in ways she could not explain. But outside the door, whispers grew. The staff were restless. Rumors spread quickly. "The nurse is hiding something. The human is dangerous. He should not be here." Alira heard their voices and knew the truth. She was alone in this. If the human survived, it would be because she trusted him. If he died, she would be blamed for everything. At dawn, the human's eyes opened again. He looked at her with surprising clarity, his voice soft but steady. "See? Not sickness, just strength. Humans are built to endure." Alira's throat tightened. She realized that she was staring at a living secret, something her people had never truly understood. Humans were not weak. They were not unstable. They were something else entirely. And as she met his gaze, she felt a dangerous thought creep into her heart. If his strength was real, what else about humans had her people misunderstood? The human patient slept, his chest rising and falling with steady rhythm. The machines around his bed hummed softly, no longer screaming alarms. Nurse Alira sat beside him, her eyes heavy with exhaustion, but her heart strangely calm. She had watched the impossible. His body had healed itself in ways alien medicine could not understand. But outside the quiet of the room, whispers had begun to spread. Other nurses and doctors moved through the clinic halls, their voices low, their expressions tense. To them, the human was not a patient, but a dangerous problem. "She's still treating him," one nurse hissed to another. "Didn't the chief order her to stop?" "Yes," another replied, her voice sharp, but she refuses to listen. "She risks all of us. Humans are unstable, unpredictable. If he wakes, he could kill her or worse." Alira heard the whispers when she left the room to fetch supplies. The stares that followed her burned like fire on her back. They no longer looked at her as a healer, but as a traitor to her kind. She held the tray tightly, forcing her face to remain calm. Inside, her heart pounded when she returned to the room. The human stirred again, his eyes opened slightly, his voice weak but clear. "They don't trust me, do they?" Alira froze. Her lips parted, but no words came. She wanted to lie, to give him comfort, but the truth hung heavy in the air. She lowered her head. "No, they don't." The human gave a faint, tired smile. It's always like that. Everywhere humans go, others fear us first, he whispered. Then drifted back into restless sleep. Her chest tightened at his words. She thought of the cold eyes of her colleagues, the way they spoke as if he were a beast, and not a man. For the first time, she wondered, was fear blinding her people? Were they too afraid of the unknown to see the truth in front of them? Later, as the clinic grew busier, Alira stepped into the supply room. She stopped when she heard voices nearby. Doctors and nurses gathered in a small circle, their tones urgent. "We should report her," one said firmly. "The nurse ignores orders. She puts us all in danger. She claims the human is stable," another muttered. "But how do we know? What if he carries something? What if his condition spreads?" "Swelling," she spoke of. A third whispered, "What if it is a weapon inside him? Humans are strange. They might hide dangerous things in their bodies." Alira's hands clenched at her sides, rage and fear mixed in her chest. They didn't want to understand. They wanted an excuse to be rid of him. She returned to the humans. Bedside, staring down at him, his face looked peaceful now, his breathing strong. She whispered softly, "They want me to give up on you, but I won't." Her voice trembled. She didn't know why she cared so much. He was a stranger, someone she had only met hours ago. Yet something in his stubborn fight for life pulled at her heart. No alien she had ever treated had clung to life with such fire. The whispers grew louder over the next days. Every time she left the room, she heard more. "The nurse is obsessed. She has lost her mind. If the human attacks, it will be her fault." Some staff even refused to enter the wing. Patients of other species were moved to different sections, as if the human carried a curse. The clinic felt colder, the air heavier one evening, as she changed the bandages on his wounds. The human's eyes opened again, his voice hoarse but steady. "You look tired." Alira blinked in surprise. A smile touched her lips, though sadness weighed her down. But I will not leave you." He studied her face quietly. Then he whispered, "Why?" She paused, her hands frozen over the bandages. She had no simple answer. At last, she said, "Because you are alive, and as long as you breathe, I cannot abandon you." The human's eyes softened. He closed them again, whispering, "Then you're braver than the rest of them," before slipping back into sleep. Her heart ached at his words. She realized that in this place, she was the only one who saw him as more than a danger. To her, he was a life worth saving, but late. That night, Alira found herself summoned to the chief doctor's office. His tall figure loomed behind a desk, his cold gaze fixed on her. "Nurse Alira," he said sternly, "your actions are causing unrest. Staff are whispering, patients are unsettled. And this clinic is not a place for reckless risks." Alira stood firm, though fear twisted in her stomach. "He is healing. He is not a danger. I have seen his strength with my own eyes." The chief narrowed his eyes. "Strength or threat? Tell me, nurse, do you truly understand what you are protecting? Or has the human already clouded your judgment?" She swallowed hard. "I am protecting life," she said simply. The chief's expression darkened. "You have until tomorrow. If by then he is not gone, I will make sure both you and the human are removed from this facility." Her heart dropped. The warning echoed in her mind long after she left the office. She walked back to the human's room, her steps heavy. Her colleagues stared as she passed, whispers chasing her like shadows. She sat by his bed again, staring at his face. Her voice was a whisper only for him. "They want you gone. They want me gone too, but I cannot give up. I don't know why. But I feel your survival means more than they understand." The human's eyes flickered open. His weak smile returned. "Then we'll fight together," he whispered, before drifting back. into sleep. Alira felt a shiver run through her for the first time. She realized this was no longer just about saving a patient. It was about defying fear itself. And somehow, she knew her choice tonight would change everything. The night air in the clinic felt heavier than ever. Alira sat by the human's side, her silver eyes fixed on the faint rise and fall of his chest. Outside the room, the whispers had turned into open suspicion. The chief had given her until morning. If she refused to let him go, she too would be removed. She brushed a damp cloth. Across the human's forehead, his skin was still burning hot. His strange body continued to fight its invisible battle. She wondered if his strength could really carry him through, but doubt gnawed at her. What if she was wrong? What if her people were right to fear him? Suddenly, the man stirred. His lips parted, his voice weak but urgent. "It's not over, my body." Still fighting, his hand twitched toward her wrist. His eyes cracked open, filled with stubborn fire. Alira leaned closer. "Tell me what to do. I don't know how to help you," she whispered. The human coughed. "Blood. Staining the cloth on his chest, your medicine. Won't work. Different blood, different body. But I know what will. Listen to me." Her heart pounded. To follow his words meant breaking every rule she had been trained under. Alien medical law was clear: never trust an outsider's instructions. Yet when she looked into his eyes, she felt something stronger than law, a raw sense of survival that refused to die. "What must I do?" she asked, her voice trembling. He took a shallow breath. "No cooling serums, no chemical flushes. My body needs heat, not cold. It burns out the infection itself, but you must give me water. Salt, strength, simple things, not alien tools." Alira blinked in shock. To her, it sounded primitive, almost foolish. But she remembered how his body had resisted. Her treatments before, perhaps this was the truth. His biology was not fragile like hers, was brutal, wild, built for war. Still, the thought of breaking orders terrified her. If she was caught giving primitive care instead of approved medicine, she would be stripped of her role. She would lose everything. She sat, frozen, torn between two paths. Her training screamed one thing, but her heart whispered another. Her people believed humans were unstable, dangerous. But sitting here, looking at this man who fought so hard just to breathe, she saw not a monster but a survivor. The door slid open suddenly. A fellow nurse stepped in, her eyes sharp. She looked at Alira and then at the human. "Still wasting your time?" She sneered. "He is not worth your career. Alira, let him go before it's too late." Alira's jaw tightened. "He is alive, and I will not abandon him," she said firmly. The other nurse shook her head, muttering, "You will regret this." Before storming out, Alira's hands shook as she poured clean water into a small cup. She mixed the mineral salts she had stolen earlier. The human's eyes fluttered open again, his voice barely a whisper. "Good. That's it. Trust me." She raised the cup to his lips. He drank slowly, weak but steady, for a moment. Nothing changed. Then his breathing eased slightly, the tension in his chest loosening. Alira let out a breath she didn't realize she was holding. Her heart raced. She had taken the risk. And maybe, just maybe, it was working. But time was not her ally. The chief would return soon, and if he saw this, she would be finished. She wiped the sweat from the man's forehead, whispering, "Please, get stronger before they come. Show them your strength." The hours dragged on. The man's condition flickered between weakness and stubborn recovery. Alira never left his side. Each time his breath faltered, she feared it was the end. Yet each time, he pulled back from the edge, refusing to surrender. Her thoughts spun in endless circles. Why was she risking everything for him? Why did she care more for this stranger than for her own position, her own safety? She could not answer. All she knew was that when he looked at her, even in his weakness, she felt seen. She felt trusted in a way her own people never trusted. Near dawn, footsteps echoed in the hall. The chief was returning. Alira's chest tightened. She had minutes, maybe less. She leaned close to the human. You must show them you are healing. If they see you as a threat, they will kill you, and they will punish me too. His cracked lips curved into the faintest smile. Then let's prove them wrong, he whispered, his voice steadier than before. The doors hissed open. The chief entered with 2 guards. His cold eyes scanned the room. Well, nurse? Is he alive or dead? He demanded. Alira stood tall, her heart pounding. Alive and healing. She answered firmly. The chief narrowed his gaze. Approaching the bed, the guards tensed, ready to act. But as the chief looked down at the human, the man opened his eyes and stared back at him. His gaze was not weak, but fierce, alive. The chief paused. Unsettled by the intensity in those human eyes, he muttered, "Impossible." Alira's voice cut through the silence, strong and defiant. Not impossible, just human. The chief's expression darkened. He turned sharply. This is reckless. Nurse, if this creature survives, it will be your responsibility. If he fails, it will be your downfall. The guards followed him out. Leaving the threat hanging in the air, Alira exhaled shakily. Her hands trembled, but her heart burned with new fire. She looked at the human, who whispered weakly, "You chose right." For the first time, Alira believed it too. The risk had been taken, the choice made. There was no turning back now. The clinic felt tense after the chief's visit. Whispers still followed Alira wherever she walked, but she no longer cared. She had made her choice, and that choice was the human. Inside the quiet room, the man's breathing grew steadier. His body seemed stronger than the night before. Alira sat by his side, gently replacing the bandages. She studied the strange scars along his skin, some new, some old. All of them telling stories she could not imagine. "You heal so quickly," she whispered, more to herself than to him. It's as if your body refuses to give up. The human opened his eyes, his lips curving into the faintest smile. That's what humans do. We don't quit, even when everything says we should. His words struck her, simple yet powerful. But as she cleaned his wounds, she found something that made her blood run cold beneath his side. Hidden under a fold of muscle was another injury, deep, dangerous, and untreated. Her hands froze. The wound was old enough to be hidden by his body's strange resilience, but fresh enough that it could kill him if ignored. He must have known it was there. He must have kept it secret. Her voice trembled as she leaned close. "Why didn't you tell me about this?" The human's eyes flickered with guilt. He turned, his face away, breathing heavily. "Because I didn't want you to give up on me." Alira's chest tightened. "Give up? I would never," she stopped, realizing the truth. Her people would have abandoned him the moment they discovered it. They already saw him as too strange, too risky. A second hidden wound would have been the excuse they needed to throw him out. His voice was rough, each word slow. "I've seen it before. In other places, other clinics, they say they want to help, but the moment they realize how different we are, they turn away." Alira felt a sting in her heart. She realized that she was not the first to see a human as a problem instead of a patient. But she would not make the same mistake. She gathered her tools quickly, but fear gnawed at her. This wound was far worse than the others. It reached deep, dangerously close to vital organs. If she failed here, no amount of resilience would save him. Her hands shook as she worked, carefully cutting away damaged tissue. The human gritted his teeth, refusing to cry out. His fingers gripped the edge of the bed, sweat rolling down his "Face, you should be unconscious for this," she whispered, horrified. He gave a strained smile. "Humans. Don't break that easily." Every second felt like a battle. Alira fought to stop the bleeding, her tools slick with his strange dark blood. The wound revealed fragments of metal buried deep inside. She gasped softly, realizing what it was: shards of an enemy weapon still lodged within him. Her hands stilled, her breath caught in her throat. If the chief discovered this, they would call him a danger. They would say he carried a weapon inside his body. They would end him without hesitation. The human saw her expression and whispered, "Now you understand why I hid it." Alira's chest tightened with dread. She could already imagine the whispers turning into shouts. He smuggled weapons inside. Himself, he cannot be trusted. They would never see it as just a wound. They would see it as proof of their fears. She leaned closer, her voice low and fierce. "I won't tell them. I will remove this, and no one will ever know." The human's eyes softened, his voice faint. "You'd risk everything. For me?" "Yes," she whispered, her hands trembling but her resolve unshaken. "Because you are not a danger. You are a life, and I will protect it." She worked carefully, removing the shards one by one. Each piece clinked into the tray with a sharp, metallic sound. The human's breathing was ragged, but he did not scream. His willpower was terrifying and inspiring all at once. At last, the final shard came free. Alira pressed fresh bandages to stop the bleeding. Her body sagged with exhaustion, but her heart burned with relief. He had survived yet another impossible trial. The human's eyes opened again, dull but filled with gratitude. "You saved me twice now," he whispered. Alira smiled weakly, brushing sweat from her brow. "And I will save you again, if I must." Silence settled between them, not heavy, but filled with unspoken trust. For the first time, she realized how deeply connected she felt to him. He was no longer just a patient. He was something more. But outside the room, the whispers continued to grow. Alira heard them whenever she stepped into the hall. "She hides something. The human is dangerous. We must report her." She knew the truth could never be revealed. If they discovered the hidden wound, if they found the weapon fragments, it would mean the end for him and for her. That night, as the human slept, Alira sat by his side, staring at the tray of bloody metal shards. She whispered softly, "This is our secret. No one will ever know." Her hand rested gently on his arm, feeling the steady warmth of life beneath her fingers. She knew then that she had crossed a line. She was no longer just his nurse. She was his protector, his ally in a place that wanted him gone, and in her heart. She felt the dangerous weight of a truth she could never speak aloud. This human was not just a patient she had saved. He was the reason she would never look at her world the same way again. The human slept. His breathing slow but steady. Alira sat beside him, her mind racing. On the tray near her hand lay the bloody metal shards she had pulled from his hidden wound. She had wrapped them in cloth, hiding them from the eyes of her colleagues. If anyone discovered them, the human would be executed without question. But even without the shards, suspicion grew heavier. Every step she took through the clinic halls was met with cold stares and sharp whispers. Some staff turned away when she passed. Others muttered loud enough for her to hear. "She has gone too far. She risks all of us. This human will destroy her." Alira tried to ignore them, but their words burned. Still, each time she returned to the human's side, their voices faded, for there, in his quiet struggle to live, she found her purpose. That evening, as she checked his bandages, his eyes opened, his voice rough but steady. "You look different." Tired, Alira gave a faint smile, brushing his forehead with a cool cloth. "Perhaps I am, but I will not stop. Not until you are safe." He studied her silently for a long moment. Then he whispered, "You're risking too much." She looked into his eyes, firm and unshaken. "Then let me risk it. You would have died if I followed their rules. I chose to break them." The human's lips curved into a faint smile. "Then, maybe. Rules are wrong." Her heart tightened at his words. She had never thought of it that way. Rules had been her guide since her first day of training. To disobey them meant shame, punishment, exile, and yet, here she was, breaking them again, and again somehow it felt right, but danger came quickly. That night, security entered the ward. 2 guards stood at her door. Demanding to inspect a human, Alira's heart leaped into her throat. She blocked their way. He is still unstable. Disturbing him now could kill him. She said firmly. The guards exchanged doubtful looks. "We have orders to ensure the human poses no threat," one said coldly. Alira's mind raced. If they searched the room, they might find the hidden shards. She clenched her fists, standing tall. "If you care about the safety of this clinic, you will trust my word as a nurse." Her voice carried such force that the guards hesitated. After a tense silence, they turned away, leaving her alone with the human once more. Alira collapsed into the chair, her hands shaking. She had just lied to security. If they returned and found out, she would lose everything. The human stirred, his eyes half opening. "You stopped them," he whispered. "Yes," she breathed, her chest still pounding. "I stopped them for you." He reached weakly, his hand brushing hers. His voice was quiet but full of meaning. "Then I owe you more than my life." Her breath caught. She felt warmth rise in her chest, a bond forming that went beyond nurse and patient. It frightened her. Yet it also gave her strength. Days passed, and Alira continued to hide the truth. She smuggled food from the kitchens, mixed it with the salts and water his body needed. She stole bandages and supplies when no one was looking. Every act of defiance pushed her further away from her people, but closer to him one night. She sat by his side, exhaustion heavy in her bones. The human's voice broke the silence, soft but steady. "Why do you fight so hard for me?" Alira hesitated, her silver eyes fixed on his. She searched for the answer. At last, she whispered, "Aka, I believe you are worth saving, because when I look at you, I don't see a danger. I see someone stronger than I have ever known." His gaze lingered on her, and though weak, he smiled. "Then maybe you're the first who ever truly saw me." Her heart trembled at his words. She lowered her head, afraid of what she felt growing inside her. It was dangerous, but undeniable, yet. Outside the room, the storm grew. Staff spoke openly now. The nurse hides something. She is protecting him for reasons that are not professional. This cannot continue. The chief summoned her again, his cold voice cut like ice. "You disobey orders. You defy protocol. This ends now. Tomorrow, he will be removed from this facility." One way or another, Alira's stomach twisted. She bowed her head, but her voice shook as she said, "If you remove him, you will kill him. His body is not ready. He needs more time." The chief's expression hardened. "Time is not a gift we owe to him." That night, Alira returned to the human side, her steps heavy with dread. She sat close, whispering the truth. "They will come tomorrow. They will take you away. If I do nothing, you will die." The human's eyes opened slowly, his gaze sharp despite his weakness. "Then don't do nothing." Her breath caught. He was right. She had broken rules before. What was one more? She looked at him, her heart steady now. "Then I will protect you, even if it means I must betray them all." The human's weak smile returned. "That's the spirit," he whispered, before sleep claimed him again. Alira sat in silence, staring at him. The weight of her choice pressed down on her. She knew she had crossed the point of no return. Tomorrow, she would break every rule. She would risk everything, not just to save his life, but because, deep inside, she already knew her life was no longer her own. It was tied to his. Dawn crept across the alien city, spilling pale light into the clinic halls. Nurse Alira sat by the human's bedside, her body weary, but her resolve stronger than ever. Today, the chief would return. Today, they would try to take him away. She looked at the man sleeping quietly. His chest rose and fell, his body still weak, but far more alive than when he first arrived. She whispered softly, "I will not let them end you, not while I still breathe." The human stirred, opening his eyes. His voice was low but steady. "They're coming, aren't they?" Alira nodded, her hands trembling. "Yes, but I won't let them harm you, even if I must break every law of this place." The man gave her a faint smile. His eyes filled with something warmer than gratitude. "Then I'm not alone anymore." Before Alira could respond, the doors hissed open. The chief doctor entered with 2 guards at his side, their faces cold, their steps sharp. "It ends here," the chief said, his voice echoing through the room. "The human leaves this clinic today." Alive or dead, Alira stood quickly, blocking the bed with her body. Her heart pounded. But her voice was firm. "He is healing. He is no threat. If you take him now, you will be killing him with your own hands." The chief narrowed his gaze. "You disobey orders, you shame this clinic. Why risk everything for this creature?" Alira's silver eyes burned with defiance. "Because he is more than you believe, because he is alive, and his life matters." The guards stepped forward. Their weapons drawn, the human tried to push himself up, wincing in pain. His voice cut through the tension. "Stop. Don't blame her. If you want me gone, then face me, not her," even weakened. His voice carried strength that shook the room. The guards hesitated, unsettled by the fire in his eyes. The chief sneered. "Pathetic tricks. Humans are nothing but unstable animals." But before he could say more, the human forced himself upright, gripping the edge of the bed, his wounds still raw, his body trembling. But his spirit unbroken, he stared at them with fierce determination. "If we were so weak, I would already be dead. But I am alive because we do not surrender. Not to wounds, not to fear, not to you." The guards faltered, their weapons lowering. Slightly, Alira stepped beside him, her voice clear and sharp. "You see? His strength is not danger, it is hope, and if you call it a threat, then you are blind." The chief's expression darkened. "You will regret this defiance, nurse. Both of you will." He turned sharply and stormed out, the guards following. Though their eyes lingered on the human with something that looked less like fear and more like respect, when the room was quiet again, Alira rushed to the human's side, helping him lie back. Her voice was soft but fierce. "Why did you stand? You could have torn your wounds open again." The man smiled faintly. "Because they needed to see what a human truly is." Her chest tightened. She sat beside him, her hand resting gently on his arm. For a long moment, silence filled the room. Heavy but warm. Finally, he whispered, "You saved me, not just with your medicine, but with your heart." "Why?" Alira's lips trembled. She struggled for words. At last, she whispered, "Because somewhere along the way, you stopped being just a patient. You became someone I cannot lose." The human's eyes softened, his hand weakly covered hers. Then, "I will never forget you. Whatever happens next, know this: you are the reason I live." Her heart ached, but also swelled with pride. She knew their bond was dangerous, forbidden even, but no law could erase it now. It was etched into her soul. In the days that followed, rumors spread through the colony. Some said the nurse had betrayed her people. Others whispered of a miracle, a human who survived against all odds, and the alien nurse who chose to protect him. Alira remained by his side, guarding him as he grew stronger. The world outside might never understand, but inside that quiet room, trust and connection had been born. One evening, as the sun dipped low, painting the sky in strange colors, the human turned to her, his voice soft, "When I leave this place, will you come with me?" Her breath caught. She thought of her people, her career, her entire life. But when she looked at him, she saw a future she could not turn away from. She smiled softly. "Yes, wherever you go, I will follow." The human's hand tightened around hers, weak but filled with promise. "Then no matter what they say, no matter what rules we break, we'll face it together." And for the first time since the night he arrived, Alira felt no fear. She knew the path ahead would be filled with trials, whispers, and dangers. But she also knew this truth: she had found something stronger than fear, stronger than law, stronger even than survival itself. She had found him, and together they would face whatever came next.